Hi there, and thanks for joining the application advice session. My name is Gavin, pronouns he, him, and I'm part of the recruitment and outreach team at Norwich University of the Arts. Before diving in, this session will cover everything around the entire application process. So, about personal statements for the UCAS application, to portfolio reviews and audition processes, and thinking about responding to offers you might be made by us. If you are applying for September 2025, then your journey has very much started now. But don't worry, it doesn't mean that there's any big deadlines coming up real soon, but now it's a great time to start thinking about the whole process in general. If you haven't been made aware of it already, the next big thing coming up is the UCAS application. If you're in a school, in a college, in a sixth form, you most likely have your own internal deadline for getting UCAS applications done, which is usually before the Christmas holidays, and I'll explain why later in the slide. But if you're outside of that school, sixth form, college system, then the general deadline for getting UCAS applications submitted is January 29th at 6 p.m. precisely. So it's always the last Wednesday of the month. Making up the UCAS applications, first of all, you obviously have your five options. So you have five choices of what course at what institution that you might want to study at. And it's you pay one flat fee and you get all those five choices. So do try to use all the choices if you can. You may as well, you've paid for it. But I imagine the main thing that most people are concerned about is the personal statements. But really, at the end of the day, the personal statements, it's just for us and different university course teams to get an idea about you, your passions, your interests. So the personal statements, you have up to 4,000 characters to use, and really that equates to one side of A4 paper, which really at the end of the day, it's not a lot. And actually, we find that most students, when they are writing up their personal statements, yeah, it ends up being a task about trimming things down. So, and the other thing with the 4,000 characters, that's a maximum. It doesn't even have to be one side of A4. And best practice when it comes to writing a personal statement is being succinct, to get into the point. And there's different things you could do to help with that. So, a big issue that we see with personal statements still to this day is the opening paragraph, and particularly the opening statements, where it can be quite easy to go for big, grand, sweeping statements saying, fashion is my passion, or I've always wanted to get into film ever since I was 4 years old. And even though that might be true for some people, it ends up coming across a bit cheesy, and for a lot of people, it is just false. So being succinct, get straight into the point of why you want to study on that particular course. What is it about that particular subject area that you're interested in? But what can help in terms of structuring the personal statements and in terms of the structure of approaching and writing the thing is actually it's always best to start with the body, the main kind of pieces of the personal statement. And with that, yes, talk about what you've been doing within school, college, sixth form, but really a lot of it, try to talk about what you've been doing outside of that. Are there any particular work experience opportunities that you've done that relates to the course that you're applying for? Are there any competitions that you've entered or different workshops that you've taken part in? Are there any solo projects that you've done yourself? And even things about reading up on the industry. Are there any particular blogs, journals, or that you've been reading up on, and magazines that you subscribe to, or any networking events that you might have gone to? All those different things can really help with your personal statements. Another part of the UCAS application is simply filling out your qualification history, what courses, subjects you've done in the past, and what you're currently studying on now. And the reference is another big part of the UCAS application, but that, if you are within school, sixth form, college, that's very much for your teacher, your tutor, your careers advisor to fill out. And that's why typically your place of study will have its own internal deadlines. So then all your teachers and tutors, careers advisors can actually write up the references for everybody, and then they'll submit it off to universities before that January 29th deadline. But of course, if you are outside of the education system, you're doing things independently with the references, the one person that it can't be is a family member. So really, what you want with a reference is somebody who knows you and your work and your creative practice. So finding people who maybe are like employers or other people that you might know who know you and your practice that you do, and they're going to be best for your references. Once your UCAS applications are submitted, the next stage of the process are your portfolio reviews, auditions, and interviews. So with us at Norwich University of the Arts, we don't have a typical interview process. For most of the courses, we ask for a portfolio of work to submit, but there are a handful of courses that just need a personal statement, and for the students to get those UCAS points for the entry requirements. And of course, for the acting course, it'll be an audition process, but we'll go through that in the next slide. So with portfolios, we'll touch on it a little bit because there are some great portfolio advice resources and sessions that we run and have out there for you to access, but I'll touch on it a little bit, and really just in terms of what the portfolio is. Yes, we want them to be very visually led. It's about showing your making skills and technical abilities, but it's not just about that. We don't just want to see your amazing polished final pieces, because that only tells us so much about you and your creative practice. There's so much more that we want to see. So we want to see the ideas development. How do you respond to a brief? What are your research methods? And we want to see those mood boards and rough idea developments before progressing to the next stage. We would love to see influences as well. So who are you inspired by? And that tells us a lot about you as a creative practitioner as well. What is it that you're looking at in the industry? But it could be great to see what you're doing to respond to those influences. What are you taking from the industry and how are you turning it into something new, or seeing your interpretation of a particular piece or a particular artist? And just in general, works in progress. So whether that's sketchbook extracts or seeing that developmental stage where you're playing around, experimenting, you try something, doesn't quite work, so then you use some creative problem solving to figure it out, and then you get to show off your amazing final pieces that you got. Essentially, we want to see a sense of an entire project that you've done, seeing the whole process, and that tells us so much more about you. We'll see how you tackle briefs, we'll see how you use creative problem solving skills, see what you're influenced by, and it gets us into your head a little bit with how you work, how you creative problem solve, and just how you generally work within a project. And in terms of quantity, it's always a big question that we get asked. And for us, we'd like to see anywhere between 12 to 15 pages or slides, obviously depending on whether it's a digital or a physical portfolio. But it's not a hard rule for us. If you have 16, 17 pages of slides, we're not going to burn or delete your portfolio off servers. It's just that's a very good sweet spot for us. So if you have, you know, 4 or 5 pages, that's not going to be enough for us to get that sense of who you are and your creative practice. But if you've got 30, 40, 50 pages, that's a monstrously big portfolio. And the course teams only have so much time to look through everything. So you don't want them flicking through pages or flicking through slides. You want the course team to be able to really take in your work. So 12 to 15 slides is a really good number to aim for. And at the end of the day with the portfolios, it's that insight into you, your practice, and what makes you unique. Use the portfolio as an opportunity to stand out. For those looking to get into acting, we'll do a audition process instead. So with the auditions, we want you to perform 2 contrasting monologues. So one being comic, one being serious. And again, it's because like the portfolios, it gives us a better sense of you, your practice, and your performance skills from there. And we don't have a selection of monologues that you have to choose from. It's very much in your hands with what monologues, what projects you pick. We want them preferably to be contemporary monologues that you perform, either from film, a stage play, or even a radio play. But with the monologues that you decide to choose, obviously lean into what you're passionate about, lean into what interests you, but something that can actually help you with the monologues. For at least one of them, try to pick a character that actually has similarities to you. So whether that's with age, background, personal experiences, because again, it gives us a bit of an insight into you as a person, as a performer, but also it just helps with the process. So you're not taking on two completely different characters. That's quite a big workload there. And with the monologues, we want them to be 2 to 4 minutes in length each. Again, we don't have all the time in the world, but also we don't expect you to do, two 15-minute long monologues. And after you perform on the monologues, you'll take direction from the course team. Again, that's a big integral part of it, is being able to take on direction. And that's essentially it with the audition process. We don't have multiple callbacks after callbacks. It's just performing the two monologues, taking on a bit of direction, and that's essentially it. With the auditions, you can decide to do them either on campus or online. So the choice is up to you. There's no right or wrong. You're not going to be like doctor points or anything, depending on what you pick. It's very much for you to decide what process is best for you. Although we do suggest, if you can come over to Norwich for an on-campus audition process, that'd be great, because you'll also do a group warm-up with the course team. And again, it's another opportunity for the course team to get to know you, but it's a two-way system. It's for you to get to know the course team as well. And you'll be able to book your auditions through an applicant portal, which leads nicely into the next slide. So, how to actually share your portfolio? What is the portfolio review process like with us? So, there's three different ways you can submit your portfolio. So, first of all, you could do an on-campus portfolio review. So, coming over to Norwich, and again, much like the auditions, where you get that kind of benefit of being on campus, where you can see the campus but you will see other people's work. So we do them as group portfolio reviews, so you'll be with other applicants as well, and it can be a nice experience for you to see their work or for them to see yours as well. But you will have time with the course team to explain some pieces of your portfolios as well after they've gone around and seen everybody's work. You can decide to do an online portfolio review as well. So you don't have to come over to Norwich, you can do it all online, but it's a very similar experience to the in-person portfolio review, where you'll be online, typically in a Zoom call, but you'll be with other applicants as well. And again, you get to see their work, they get to see yours as well. It can be a nice opportunity. But also, you can, if you want to, just submit a digital portfolio, close your eyes, cross your fingers, and just hope for a response. So you don't have to do a portfolio review. You can just submit a digital portfolio online and wait for a response. So we have those three different options. Again, it's up to you to decide what you think is best for you and what you think is most beneficial for the application and portfolio process. Obviously, if you want to lean with a physical hard copy portfolio, you probably want to come onto campus so you can actually bring the physical portfolio in. But if you've got a digital portfolio, you could just do an online group review instead. But with that in-person on-campus group review, you can, your portfolio can be physical hard copy, it could be digital only, or it could be a hybrid of the two. And with the auditions and with the portfolio reviews, everything's booked through our applicant portal, and that you'll get details for that in emails after your UCAS application is submitted. After you've done your portfolio review or your audition, or you've just submitted your personal statement off, then it's up to the course team and the university to get back to you with a response. And in terms of that response time, that can fluctuate. Typically, it could be 5 to 7 days, but sometimes it can be a lot sooner. It can be even a day or two. And sometimes it can take a little bit longer. So let's just say, don't worry if you haven't heard anything after 5 to 7 working days. Sometimes it could take a little bit longer for the course team to respond if it's a particularly busy time with different portfolio reviews and applications coming through. So just sit tight, wait for that email. It will come through for you. And in the meantime, you could always check out and get involved with what we're doing. We do different online workshops and competitions, but I'll talk more about that towards the end of this presentation. When you receive a decision from the course team, you will get one of three responses. And this is typically the same with all university higher education courses as well. So the first one being a conditional offer. So as long as you meet a specific criteria, you'll be able to study on that course. And typically that criteria is making sure you get those UCAS points. So for all of our courses, it's 104 UCAS points, except architecture, which is 120 UCAS points. You might even be offered an unconditional offer. So you've met all the different entry requirements and conditions, and you'll be able to go straight into year one on that course. Typically, unconditional offers are offered out to those who've already got those UCAS points, they've already got those qualifications, and have met the entry requirements. But also, on a very, very rare occasion, you might be offered an unconditional offer purely based on the strength of your portfolio or audition. And yes, you can be given an unaccepted offer, but a lot of the time that's just because of the portfolio isn't quite up to strength for year one entry, or you haven't quite hit those UCAS points. And a lot of the time you might be given an unaccepted offer, but you might be made an offer to study on our year zero course, our integrated foundation year instead. So most of our courses does have a year zero component, and that will turn a 3-year degree into a 4-year experience where you do that integrated foundation year to develop your portfolio a little bit further before going into year one. So it's absolutely not the end of the world if you get an unaccepted offer. You could discuss with the course team about the integrated foundation year as well. And then, of course, it's your turn to respond to that response from the university. So, with every response that comes in from different courses that you've applied for, it will automatically be assigned as undecided. So, you haven't made a decision, it's just come through. And from that, it's up to you to decide what you might want to do with that decision. So you can accept the decision from that course, and that makes you a firm offer holder. So you've decided, yes, I would accept the unconditional or conditional offer, and I'd like to study on that course come September 2025. And there are benefits when it comes to being a firm offer holder for a particular course, because it would typically mean that you'd be able to then move on to the next stages of sorting out accommodation and other things like that. You can also decide to make that particular offer for a particular course your insurance choice. So whatever your top course university choice may be, if you don't meet those conditions or you don't get accepted into that course, then you'd be able to go into your insurance choice instead come September 2025. And of course, you can decline or withdraw your choice from a course in university as well. So those are the different options that you'll be able to do once you get made offers from universities. And that very much covers the entire application journey for you. Hope you found that useful. And if you do have any further questions or queries, you can obviously contact us about anything. So for us at Recruitment and Outreach, just simply email studentrecruitment@norwichuni.ac.uk and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. But if you do have specific questions about entry requirements or portfolio reviews and the application process with us, it might be worth going straight to the admissions team. So that is simply admissions@norwichuni.ac.uk. In the meantime and during your application journey, it might be worth checking out our different events that we do. So we run a slew of online competitions, workshops, we do summer school every year, and they're all free and they're all online, so you don't have to go anywhere for it. So what we've got going on at the moment is our Beyond the Frame photography competition that we run every year, and there's some amazing prizes for the winners and the runner-ups. But it's a great opportunity for those photographers and filmmakers out there to get involved and start getting your work out there. And again, it could be that you producing a small project for that competition that you can put into your portfolio and talk about in your personal statements. And it's not a competition just for photography, filmmaking students, anybody can apply. And we're also running at the moment Curiosity. So it's a LGBTQ plus project that lets you explore queerness through creative practice, much like a lot of our students do at the university. And it touches on different areas such as character design, fashion and textiles, fine arts. So you even get a little try of different processes that we do at Norwich Uni of the Arts as well. And again, wherever projects come out of Curiosity, if you take part in it, you can put that into your portfolios, talk about it in your personal statements. It's all really useful at the end of the day and worth checking out. So that's everything from me today. I hope you found that useful. And of course, like in the previous slide, do let us know if you need anything. But other than that, thank you for joining in and best of luck with your application journey.